And a very good afternoon. Welcome to our Vendée Globe live show. It's Saturday the 5th of December and it's day 25 on the racecourse. Well, the news today is dominated by Sam Davis and Initiative Kerr arriving into Cape Town and announcing her abandonment. So desperately unfortunate news for Sam, who really did have the perfectly prepared programme over the last 4 years. But as we all know, the Vendée Globe can be extremely cruel. Meantime, Sam has said that she wants to channel the spirit of Isabella Tischer, of Nick Maloney and Enda O'Coinin, all skippers who have stopped the races and restarted and finished their circumnavigation off the course unclassified. Already in Cape Town as of yesterday and is Alex Thompson, and due to arrive later on today is later on this evening or possibly tomorrow will be Seb Simon, and so there will be three Vendée Globe skippers sharing their memories and perhaps shedding a tear into their beer. At the top of the fleet, meantime, Charlie Dallin is still out in the lead. Overnight, there was a small problem with Louis Burton, who lost out second to Thomas Riong, but Charlie Dallin is really slow, really steady, and sailing a good course at the moment. Here, my guest today is Ryan Breymaier on the plateau. Ryan is going to be taking the helm over the course of next week for the show. Ryan's a professional rigger who has worked in the IMOCA fleet for many years. Also sailed the 2010 Barcelona World Race with Boris Herman and worked with Boris more recently. And in England we have Conrad Humphreys, who's the 2004 Vendée Globe skipper. Conrad is joining us from Plymouth, and Conrad had a few problems which he largely overcame and sailed a great race back in 2004. So as I say, Sam Davis arrived into Cape Town this morning. We spoke with her earlier on, and this is Sam's message this morning. So Sam, a very difficult decision for you to take. How do you feel then? Have you come to terms with things a little bit coming into Cape Town?
That's the positive side of having 2 or 3 days of slow sailing to get to safety, is that you've got plenty of time to think and analyse and make sure you've taken the right decisions. And not in the heat of the moment with too many emotions or fear or fatigue. Finally, for me, I don't feel like it's a difficult decision to make, because it's just not possible to safely continue, even if I could repair what's visible. There's too many unknowns around the keel that need to be checked and inspected, that can't be done without hauling the boat out and taking the keel off. And I've seen underwater. I've got an endoscope on board, so I've been looking at the keel fin, and there's a massive chunk missing just above the bulb. So it was an impact really a long way down, and so a massive leverage on everything, on the whole of the structure of my boat when I hit at 20 knots. So with the violence of the collision, which I guess my team can help me make decisions, but I am also the one that experienced it and felt how violent it was and how much it must have hurt my boat. So yeah, it's good to have the time to analyse, but finally it's a decision that's not difficult, because there's no other way to continue with the damage I have, and that's bad luck, and it's really frustrating because it really is just bad luck, and that's part of the game, and it's the Russian roulette of the Vendée Globe, and it's really frustrating. But so what can you do? The positive side is that I still have a boat that's floating, which is more than other people in this race right now. It has a mast, and it has a keel and 2 foils. And apart from the damage around the keel, everything is perfect. I'm just missing my radar, which I lost on the second night. But so I'm fully motivated to try and repair with assistance, with a stop. So that means I have to abandon the Vendée Globe, but if I can repair the boat with my team, and I'm confident that they're arriving today. If we can fix it all and check it all and be sure that it's solid, then I'm really keen to keep going. Obviously out of the Vendée Globe rankings, but as part of the adventure. And I think that's an amazing part of the history of the race. And I think one of the people I was thinking about is Isabella Tischer, because obviously one of the first female sailors that had raced the Vendée Globe. She did the same. She had a problem and stopped in Cape Town and sailed the rest of the race outside the rankings. And I respect everybody that has done that. Enda has done that. Nick Maloney. There's many sailors, not so many recently, but many sailors have finished their adventure, even if they're not in the official results. And if I can do that, then that would be just amazing. So that's the mission, and it's the mission with this project. It was always the philosophy is that I'm lucky enough, and I have a competitive project and a great boat, and I enjoy fighting the race for results. But this project is also about adventure. It's about human adventure. It's about raising money for charity, for the kids that are sick. And if I can keep going, then that part of the adventure will continue. And it's only, well, that's the best thing I can do for the charity, for Médecins Chirurgie Cardiaque.
Sam, do you have any idea what the time scale would be for making repairs? So that's Sam Davis putting a brave face on it, but certainly wanting the adventure to continue. Conrad Humphreys, you know Sam quite well. I mean, an incredible spirit under the circumstances.
She's just amazing, and she sailed an amazing race. And to hear her there, just talking about the passion and the will to go on, and conclude the race as Isabella Tischer and Nick Maloney and others have done, it's fantastic. Yeah, I really salute her, and I think a lot of fans in the UK are right behind her. She's doing a great job.
Indeed, but this seems to have been a particular area south of South Africa where there have been a lot of problems.
Yeah, I mean, historically, this is an area where, there's very nutrient-rich upwelling around the Cape. There's lots of current bringing, debris down from the Indian Ocean. And I think this year in particular, there seems to be very strong currents in play, and so perhaps more than normal. But historically, boats have had problems in this part of the ocean, and so. There's no great surprise, at least, on a positive, we've still got a large number of boats competing in the race and not too many people retiring.
Good, thank you, Conrad. Ryan, your reaction to Sam there. I mean, it's if she can go on, it's about closure. It's about being able to continue an adventure rather than the dead stop.
Yeah, obviously so. The amount of effort and investment that's gone into getting her to Cape Town already, there's almost no reason why she shouldn't continue. If everybody's ready to make it happen, then it gives her an opportunity to spread her message for until the finish line here in Les Sables, and it just seems like the thing to do if she's ready to do it. And she's obviously not been particularly dominated by the circumstances, as it were. Especially given that she has probably got broken ribs and all the rest of it. It's good on her for wanting to continue on.
She's a tough cookie.
Apparently so.
Indeed, Ryan, thank you so much. Let's look at the rankings then at midday today. And top of the table still Charlie Dallin. He is 216 miles ahead of Thomas Rion. Thomas in turn is 47 miles ahead, having regained second place. He's 47 miles ahead of Louis Burton. Louis Burton in turn is now 114 miles ahead of Damien Sagan. Sagan in fourth place. Yannick Bestaven is in fifth. He is 6 miles behind Damien Sagan. Then Jean Le Cam in sixth. Seventh is Benjamin Dutroux. Boris Herman is in eighth. He's only 39 miles behind Dutroux. Isabelle Josh going really well indeed. She's only 7 miles behind Boris. And in 10th, Giancarlo Padotti in Prismian Group. Looking down the table are other internationals. Well, Alan Rura is in 14th. He's a little bit out on his own. He's still got about 400 miles in front of him to Clarisse Kramer, but he has opened up a little bit of distance on Stefan Le Deraison, who's had his problems. Armel Tripon is only a mile behind him, though, unfortunately, or a mile behind Stefan Le Deraison, and is moving up the table progressively. Then further down, Didac Costa in 20th. He is now 112 miles ahead of Pip Hare, getting away from Pip very slightly. Our other internationals, Miranda Meron is in 24th, Ari Husela is in 26th, and Kojiro Shiraishi in 27th. Jeremy Bayu is still making about 10 knots, about 2 knots quicker than Sebastian Destremo, and closing the gap very, very quickly. So let's come back to you, Ryan. Your thoughts on this race in general. It's been very, very engaging.
It has been, you know, and it's starting now to get into the more classic Vendée Globe sense, where you have the auto route of the south, which has opened up, and there's been a few people taking early exits off of the auto route, but that's pretty normal for the race. I think it's interesting. This confused sea state, which has been sort of a theme of the race thus far, has really done a lot to clip the wings of the foiling boats, because their amazing speeds can really only be achieved in reasonably flat water, and so you actually have quite a good race on our hands with a lot bigger percentage of the fleet, honestly.
Indeed, Conrad Humphreys. I mean, the top 10 is a really mixed bag compared to what we maybe have expected pre-start.
Yeah, very much so. Great to see some of the non-foilers really in contention at this stage. And of course, you know, right the way down the Atlantic, you know, the conditions haven't been ideal, as Ryan says, for the foilers. They've had, you know, only a few days of probably optimum conditions. Although things that might change, you know, in the coming week, where the Indian is starting to settle into a high pressure dominant to the north and a succession of lows to the south, and that may open up a little bit more favourable conditions for those lead group. But I fully expect to see Jean Le Cam and some of the other non-foilers, you know, sailing a great race and staying in contention.
Indeed, thank you, Conrad. Let's have a look at our 3D, our fly-through of the fleet as of today, Saturday.
Yeah, if we look, starting a couple of days ago, we have the two groups there, Alan Rura and Stéphane Le Deraison, who are being quickly caught up by Armel Tripon and Arnaud Boissier, who've got much better conditions coming from behind there. That's sort of the beginnings of the second pack of boats. Off to the north there, we can see everybody who's taken the first early exit off of the expressway. And then we have this group of 11 boats in the front with Maxime Sorel in the back, Isabelle Josch, Boris Herman, and everyone leading around to the front with Dallin, Burton, and Royan. Louis Burton, who had problems with his autopilot yesterday evening and has been slowed a bit by that. So, you know, the fleet is separated, but we still have quite a big pack of boats in the lead group.
Indeed, watching Charlie Dallin then, we know that he's got some options coming up just over the next few days. It's going to be interesting to watch, but you can see the fleet well spread now from about 800 miles to the Kerguelen Islands all the way back under the South Atlantic High. So that's the 3D fly-through. Let's have a look at the weather situation in a little bit more detail. As I say, Charlie Dallin facing some nice options in some ways, but it's going to be a big choice for him. Well, we're looking big picture, first of all, at the entire fleet from Chiral back here at the top northwest corner of the high-pressure system, running the corner of the high-pressure system coming down, this group coming down this cold front here and making good progress with northerly breezes and going reasonably quickly for them. Just quickly there, Stéphane Le Deraison with his hook problem. Now, looking through the fleet then, this area here, it's all fairly straightforward sailing for them in moderate breezes. We're looking at the front of the fleet, focus there a little bit, just because we have Charlie Dallin all the time. They're in these very confused winds and seas at the back of the low pressure system. In particular, Charlie Dallin today reporting 40 knots, 35, 40 knots at times. Wind very confused and up and down, and also big seas, very crossed seas, which is making it very hard to maintain a decent speed. And it's all the same for all these boats through here. So that's the general picture. Let's look in particular at this chart here. Now this is where we're looking forward, and we'll see it a little bit clearer in the animation in a few seconds. So this is this big low pressure which forms. Now Charlie Dallin has got this option which you can try and ride the front of the low pressure, where you have better, stronger northwesterly breezes. There's a chance to run with that for many, many miles, and that would potentially give him a big advantage over the chasing group. But the disadvantage is if he falls off it, he goes straight into the back of the low, and in very difficult conditions. When we're talking, 35, 40 knots in big seas, and that would be a much higher risk option for him. So that's a big decision for him, and indeed also to a certain extent for Linked Out. We're now down, this is the Kerguelen Islands here, so that's the big decision for Charlie, whether he remains prudent or whether he goes for it. Let's look at it on the animation now. We'll see it a little bit more clearly here in just a few seconds, if we can just line that up. So yes, indeed, there we go. You can just see this is this low pressure building here, and then it has the choice. I mean, this is all very theoretical in terms of the routing. Now, whether he will choose to do this route or to try and stay a little bit further north, then will remain to be seen, on the basis that he knows that he's probably got certainly one of the fastest boats out there just now. Then I would imagine he'll be a little bit more prudent, but we'll wait and see. Watching, this is now Thomas Riong having the chance to come down, riding the front as it develops, or the low pressure as it develops and coming down. So that's now looking forward at the situation on the 9th. So that's a good indication of what could happen over the next few days. Indeed. So Ryan, a big option, a big choice for Charlie Dallin then.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's not a huge choice. The choice is how much coal to shovel into the back of the engine. Basically, he's already on the train, and accelerating down the track is great when the waves are flat. But otherwise, you could find yourself in big trouble if get going a bit too quick and end up with a broken boat, which no one wants, obviously. So in the ideal world, the waves will arrange themselves properly, and he'll be able to achieve some high speeds and stay ahead of that front. But the reality thus far has been very different, and I'm not sure I'd want to be in his place with 45, 50 knots right on the leading edge of that front with Linked Out. It's not a very nice place to be.
Indeed. Conrad, do you have your thoughts on Charlie Dallin's race and his options there?
I mean, quite clearly, the game would normally be to stay ahead of that front for as long as possible, and gradually get into the influence of the high pressure around South Australia. If they can't keep pace with it, then he's going to fall back into the front and the confused sea. So. Yeah, I guess if I was looking at that option, I'd be trying to stay ahead of it as much as possible and ride it for as long as possible. But let's see how it plays out next week.
And what are your thoughts on his race so far? He's sailed a very prudent, steady race.
Yeah, I think he's an incredible professional, and to date, it's a long racetrack to go, and he's in a commanding position, and probably has the option to sort of throttle back and stay a little bit more in control over the next few days. But of course, that frontal system will be concerning him, because if he drops off the back of it, it does give the chance for the guys behind to close up. So tricky to balance that need for speed, but also being conservative, not breaking his boat.
Indeed, you talk about that need for speed. One sailor who's been, I say, fairly prudent in general, just is modus operandi is very much to stay with the pack, and that is Boris Herman. Ryan. Yeah,
Boris, he definitely has been playing it cool. And, the speeds that we saw this spring with his boat in more protected conditions were very high, and he definitely is in a calm mode there, just trying to stay with the pack, trying to minimize the amount of damage on the boat, because with speed generally comes damage, and he has a few small problems that he's talked to us about already. But as of right now, yeah, he's just trying to cling on, you know.
Indeed. And this is Boris Herman. We spoke with him on the live video earlier on in the day.
My friend, how are you doing today?
Yeah, hi Ryan. Good, good. It's so different from our Barcelona World Race times. At least they are maybe too long ago that I don't remember the tough moments anymore. But it's a bit an uncomfortable week, more than I expected. But I won't complain.
Can we look ahead real quick and discuss just a little bit about what you think the next 3 or 4 days will bring in terms of weather between yourself and the boats just behind you, and perhaps a little bit of what you think Charlie Dalin might face as this large depression forms sort of behind him with a big front attached to it?
Yeah, I didn't look at the competitors so much, to be honest. I think Yannick gained quite a few miles over me since we had the rescue operation together, and since then he managed to sail a bit a hotter angle, a bit faster as well. So being further south brings him also further along on the track. And I think we will stay in the same phase, catching the next low, kind of starting today, and then gradually building with the VMG situation, and roundabout where the ice zone comes north the most, in that area I will jibe, like something like 52 east or 50 east, and quite close to the ice gate. And then I have a long port northeast towards riding this low pressure in the same phase, like I think Yannick and who else there, Jean Le Cam maybe. And I was worried a little bit dragging behind here and falling out of the rhythm of this of the low pressure and being stuck in the high that's behind us. But I think I will be fine, and going along with an increasing breeze over the day today. Well, at least that's what I see here. We had pretty active ciel de traîne yesterday, like this active clouds, and really strong gust that made it a difficult day yesterday again, and it's a bit better actually today.
Do you mind showing us outside the back of the boat one more time, and just let us see what's going on with the sun and the clouds?
Yeah, I can go outside even. Not fully outside maybe, but here's a little view. An albatross behind us here. Not sure if you can see that.
Excellent. Yeah, that's
pretty big sea state still. Like the swell is maybe 4 meters, and confused, really confused. It's rare. I've never seen so confused sea over so many days. I fixed my pilot to stay on a speed target, and in order to be able to do this with these waves, we're doing like amazing S-curves. I don't know if you can see that in the video, but we're curving pretty much up and down on these steep short waves.
So Boris Herman there. Conrad Humphreys, I mean, Boris really setting himself just a steady pace. He said the other day the objective is not to lose too many miles to the peloton and then be in a position to put the foot down later.
Yeah, I mean, he's been sailing an incredible race and, always so calm, so considered in his approach. And I think that really bodes well for the long term. there's a long way to go. The weather at the moment looks, pretty favourable to New Zealand if they can stay ahead of that system. And there's so much racetrack to go, and I think Boris will be one to watch.
I mean, Conrad, obviously you're fully engaged in the whole race. Do you miss it?
It's always a question you ask. Of course, yeah, you miss the race, and sat here, virtually playing as well with so many, former Vendée heroes. I'm sure they're all thinking the same thing. Where would they rather be at this moment in time?
And the answer is?
And the answer is, I'm sure, like all of them, they would love to be back out there. And who knows? It's great to see some of the older generation boats doing so well in this race. It does give us all hope.
It does indeed. Ryan, you know Boris obviously extremely well. I mean, he's super measured in his approach, isn't he?
Yeah, he absolutely is. He's this comment about setting the pilot to a speed mode is part of that. Looking at everything that's going on around him and what the conditions are like, and knowing that he doesn't want to accelerate into the back of a wave and end up in the same situation as PRB, God forbid. The speed mode forces the boat to stay at a certain speed. Downwind, the boat bears away to slow down and comes up to speed up, and he's using that mode effectively to keep himself at a speed which is reasonable.
And that jumper, what about the jumper?
The jumper?
His Christmas jumper.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I wouldn't have that on my project. That's a little too heavy, I think.
Exactly. Indeed. Anyway, Boris going really well. Conrad Humphreys, thank you so much for joining us. We would love to have you back at some course over the next few days, next few weeks. Thank you so much. And Ryan, this is your hot seat for the next week. That's it for today for our Vendée Globe Live. Join us again tomorrow at 13:30 here in France and 12:30 live on UTC. Any questions, do put them on Facebook, on Twitter, or indeed on Instagram, and Ryan will be there to answer them. See you tomorrow.